welcome. My name is Stacy Burley. I help with these workshops. I work at the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and this is the start of the core series, which is a human-centered design series. And so what I'd like to encourage you to do is to not just show up today, but to come for the remainder of these, which are every Thursday for the next 3 weeks from 4:30 until 5:30. And so sign up for the others. It's the heart of the customer, prototyping, and the art of the pitch. And I'll put the link to the Eventbrite information so you can register for those right after this call. But that being said, today is Start with the Problem, and I'm really excited because we have Taylor Smith here. And Taylor is the Director of Product at Walmart. Hey, Taylor. He's going to have the mic the rest of the time. But Taylor also has a background in economics as a professor. And so I'm super excited. He knows what he's talking about. He knows how to engage with us. So I'm going to encourage you now to turn on your camera if you have not, because we all know what it's like to try and present or talk to little black boxes. Thank you, everyone. That's awesome. And Taylor's going to be asking you to participate in various ways today, be that breakout rooms or via the chat. And so whatever forum he asks, I just say, stay in tune so that you know how to engage with this content, because it's going to be really good. With that, I'm going to let Taylor introduce himself, because he will tell you why he is here today specifically. Go ahead, Taylor.
Cool. Well, thanks, Stacy. So like Stacy said, my name's Taylor Smith. I'm I would say a director of product at Walmart. I would say sometimes like the director of product at Walmart sounds way more important than I really am. I am a director, but it's a lot of fun, right? Because one of the things that I get to do at Walmart is really spend time talking with customers. So both like the front end, like we think of like somebody walking in the store, but also our associates, right? So a lot of the work that I do at Walmart is actually building tools and thinking about the ways that our associates work and helping them do their job better, both in stores and at the home office, right? So it's been a lot of fun kind of spending my time at Walmart. Let's see. And Stacy, just calling out, if someone says something in the chat, I have very limited screen real estate, so please interrupt me if someone needs something or has a question. So
you bet you. I will call out questions as they come in.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. So wanted to give you just a little bit of kind of where we're going today. And what this is essentially, I'm gonna talk a little bit about myself just so that like, who is this guy who's talking to me? But then we're gonna talk a little bit more about why it's important to start with the problem, right? Specifically, why the problem is more important than the solution. Then we're going to get to some tools to actually learn to understand how do we dig into those problems, right? So we're going to talk about opportunity mapping and a framework to kind of think about problems, which is called jobs to be done. And then I'll give you a couple resources at the end so that you have some takeaways. Okay, so who the heck am I, right? So as I mentioned, Director of Product at Walmart. I've been at Walmart about 2.5 years. My 3-year anniversary is going to be in May. Before that, I was an assistant professor of economics. I taught in the Atlanta area at a place called George Gwinnett College. I was joking with Stacy before, like no one used to know where Gwinnett County was, but then like Atlanta and Georgia became like the most important state in the country for like 3 months. And so people tend to know Georgia County more than they did now, or more than they used to. And so really enjoyed being a professor of econ. I'm actually on the U of A campus today because I teach a night class at the University of Arkansas. And so I am hiding in a classroom right now, waiting because my class is at 6:30 tonight. And before I was an economics professor, I was a web application developer. And so one of the things that I think, you will talk a lot in this series about the heart of the customer, and then you'll go into prototyping. A lot of my work over my time, over the course of my career has been around problem solving, right? It has been either when I was as a developer, right? It was building technology solutions. As as an assistant professor, I was helping students understand how to think about problems, both in an economic sense and a statistic sense. And then now at Walmart, it's around designing and developing products to help meet a either a business or a customer need, right? And so all of this kind of centers around the idea of there's a problem to go out and solve. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm in the product world, right? So a lot of times we think of product managers as these people who are like kind of, as I just mentioned, kind of developing the solutions, right? But this is by a guy named Marty Erickson, and he is one of the founders and leaders of a group called Mind the Product. And I think this is such a great quote. It says, product managers should not focus on designing solutions. They should focus on defining and prioritizing problems. And at the heart of what you do in product, it's not about the solution, it's about defining the problem and prioritizing those problems, right? Because there's always more problems to solve. So which ones are the most important ones and which ones are the valuable things to go out and attack? And so that's the starting point. If you don't get that right, everything else isn't going to fall into place, right? So why? Why is that problem the most important thing, right? Well, the first thing I want to mention is that if you're focused on the problem, that means you're focused on the user, right? Because a lot of times, and I see this happen to me at Walmart all the time, and I saw it happen to me when I was a developer. It was someone would come in and say, build this, right? At Walmart, an executive will say, you need to build X so that the people can do this. As a web developer, right, go out and we would be building websites and web applications. They're like, we just want a website that will do this and just build it, right? That's not, it's not the best way to start, because starting with the solution means you're more focused on, and the person who's at the center is the person who's providing the solution, not the person who the solution is for. And that's where you want to start. So if you start with the problem, your focus is then on the person you are solving for, the person you are helping, not the person asking you to actually provide a solution, right? Sometimes those are the same people, but I found out a lot of times they're not. And so you have to kind of focus in on the right person, and focusing on the problem helps you do that. The other thing, and this is, so I have a PhD in economics, but I was also a math major as an undergrad. Those of you out there who've taken like calculus or something like that will recognize this language, but if not, that's okay. But if you picture like some function, right, like a graph of a curve, right, there are hills and valleys, and we talk about those. There's a local maxima, meaning there's like the top of a hill, but that might not actually be the highest point on the graph. There might be other hills that are higher. And one of the problems that you run into in like machine learning or in like computer science or in mathematics is when you're trying to find a maximum, you might end up finding a local maximum, but not the global maximum, the point that is actually the highest. Now, if we apply that to solving a problem, if you start with a solution, you might make that solution the absolute best that it can be, right? And a lot of the things that you'll talk about in future seminars will be things like, how do we go out and build a prototype? How do we get feedback? How do you get to that iterative space to get to a better and better solution over time? Which is great if you found the right solution. But you could make a really, really, really good version of not the best solution, right? And so you have to be really careful that once you get to that solutioning stage, that you're actually solving the problem in the right way. And the only way to know that is to start with the problem first and have multiple solutions in front of you, and then start kind of optimizing them in parallel. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Finally, if you start with the problem and then get a solution out there quickly, like I mentioned, you can iterate on a bad solution. You can get a good solution, you can get an okay solution to a great solution over time. If you start with the wrong problem, you can build the absolute best outcome and still not solve a problem, and therefore your solution is worthless. Even if it's the best solution to the problem you solved, that you were solving, if no one actually has that problem, your solution is meaningless, right? And so therefore, you have to start with the problem, especially, and I say this especially, I mean, I think this is in any case, but if you're trying to build something for market, right? If you're trying to build an application or a product that you're going to go out and sell, one of the biggest problems that I see happening in those places is you build a solution to a problem that people don't have, right? And so you build a great one, but no one buys it because they don't have that problem, right? This is the classic, like, as seen on TV problem, right? Like all of those kind of things, you're like, yo, that's really interesting. I would never use that because I don't have a problem opening tin cans, right? Like that's not a thing that ruins my day. And so no one actually buys those things. I mean, probably a couple people do, but you don't end up, being the solution that you kind of really wanted it to be. Okay, so we're gonna take that idea, right? That problems are important, right? And we really care about problems, and let's give ourselves some tools that then lets us dive into it a little bit more. So I'm gonna use a tool that I learned about a couple years ago called an opportunity map, right? So let's start at first with just defining what a problem is, right? So a problem, and this is coming from a psychologist at the University of Missouri, says an unknown that results from any situation in which a person seeks to fulfill a need or accomplish a goal. However, problems are problems only when there is a felt need that motivates people to search for a solution in order to eliminate discrepancies. So again, if people don't feel like it's a problem, people don't care anymore, right? Even if it's a real problem, like, don't get me wrong, like it could be a real problem, but if people don't recognize that it's a problem, it's not felt, right? Then any solution you build is not gonna work. Okay, so let's take a minute, right, and kind of lay this out. A lot of times, again, people will come to me in my job and say, you need this, or people need you to build this, right? Let's then take a step back and just kind of think of how we might do this in real life. Like this happens, which is really funny. So I built this slide a couple months ago. We had been in lockdown at the time, for a couple months, and now that it's basically been almost a year, oh my gosh, guys, I need a vacation, right? Like I need a vacation. And so if someone told you that, right, if they said, I need a vacation, you very quickly might then jump into, okay, well, how do I solve that problem? How do I meet that need? Okay, well, we're going to build a vacation website, or we're going to go out and, try to build like a travel agency concierge kind of thing, right? There's a lot of ways to meet that need, right? But you don't want to stop at the need, because a need is an expression of a struggle, right? I need a vacation. Why? Because I'm struggling with stress and burnout at work. Or in today's world, it might be because I haven't left my house in 11 months, right? I'm really sick of seeing the same 5 rooms. I need a vacation, okay? But if you only stopped at need a vacation, you miss the actual problem or the struggle, which is I'm stressed and burned out with work, right? Or I literally haven't left the house, right? The 2 very different struggles, by the way. And the way that you would solve those 2 struggles, a vacation solves both, but other solutions to those struggles might be vastly different, right? And so if you want to be a true innovator, if you want to solve real problems, you have to ask the question and get to the struggle and not stop at the need, right? So let's see, the need is framed by the experience in the world as it exists today, right? Oh, I'm tired, I'm stressed out. I hate this house. I need a vacation. The struggle, if you can get to it, is where the innovation occurs. I gave a very similar talk about this, gosh, it must have been about 1.5 years ago now at the University of Michigan. And I was talking about this and we talked about the idea of like the 5 whys, right? Like, don't just take what somebody gives you, ask why, and then ask why again, and then ask why again. And eventually you'll get to something that's really interesting. And someone basically said, well, how long do I keep asking why? How far back do you go, right? Because as we'll see in a minute, the further back you go, the more innovative you can be, right? And I'll give another example of that when we get a little bit later in. Kind of back to that I need a vacation. Steve Jobs did a great job of saying this. It's not the customer's job to know what they want, right? Customers knows what's going to solve their need, but they don't do a great job of thinking about things that are going to solve the broader struggle, right? And so therefore, the true innovators in product or in services are the people who don't just take the customer's statement of I need at face value, but look back and say, okay, how am I actually going to innovate, and I'm going to solve this underlying problem that exists. Okay, now that I just kind of talked at you for like 15 minutes there, right? I want to take a second, and I'm going to ask you to do this breakout. Okay, so we're gonna jump out into some rooms. You're gonna talk to some other people who are on the call. So if your video's not on, probably want to turn it on because you're gonna be talking to like 2 or 3 other people. I want you to think about just something that you want in life right now, right? It can be anything, right? It can be, man, I'm hungry for dinner. Man, I want to go to the Bahamas. Anything that you want, right? Doesn't matter, big or small. And then I want you to take another step and say, if you had that thing, why are you better off? Right? What is that thing doing for you that makes you better off? And then, as the next step, I want you to write down a few other, 2, 3 other things that would also make you better off in that same way. Right? So again, think of something that you want. Figure out what struggle is that actually solving, not the need, but the struggle. And then think of some other things that might give you that same result. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw you out into some breakout rooms real quick. So let's see. All right, here we go. I'm going to throw you out there. I'm going to give you about 8 minutes. So in that 8 minutes, take 2 minutes of your own time, right? Just to kind of write these things down. And then I want you to take about 5 to 6 minutes and share them with the rest of the group, right? Because when we come back, I'm going to ask maybe one person, maybe 2 or 3 people to come and kind of just share some examples out of this, all right? So go ahead and jump out there. If you get done, feel free to come back in the main room. You'll see a button that says leave breakout room and you can come back. So I'll see all of you guys in just a second. And let's see, I want to make sure I push all of you out there, automatically move you, and see you in a second. All right, I think we have everybody back. So that's good. So, hey, with that in mind, anybody willing to share what their want and what their struggle was, and maybe a couple of examples of other things? Feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'll start calling on people, and nobody likes that.
I'll kick it off.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Isaac.
No, you go ahead. You can go ahead.
So the thing I wanted was to go snowboarding. I typically go once or twice every year and haven't been in the past like 2 years, I believe. And so the reason why I want that, or why I would be better off, it gives me like a sense of freedom and it clears my mind, just being up in the mountains and just kind of being able to do whatever I want. And other things that would help me achieve that, or those same feelings, would be, I guess, working on my company. I guess giving me my own, I guess, sense of financial freedom in a way, and just kind of being able to build off with that, and also helps me clear my mind, because that's like always running through there. And then I used to box also, like I was a boxer for like 3.5 years, and that also gave me the same feeling of just like being free. I'm the only one there. It's all about me. And then also just helps me clear my mind.
No, that is a fantastic example. Thanks, Brandon. Like that is great. Isaac, did you want to share?
For me, I came up with maybe like a recording studio in my house, because when I write down my thoughts, I like to put them on beats just to kind of clear my head. So that was one that I came up with. And the other one, you used it in the example of the vacation. So
there you go. Now, I appreciate people who need a recording studio. I tried to record something in my house the other day, and it was the worst sound I've ever heard in my life. So I appreciate people who know how to do that well. So great thoughts. Anybody else who wants to share? We probably have time for like one more.
Okay, so our group had a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the wants, started off with wanting money, and the struggle had to do with, being able to do things like go skiing, family, all that good stuff. Then want being a new boyfriend, and the struggle being, well, actually, I'm going to tie these together. We had boyfriend and we had dog. Those were both wants, and it had to, the same answers were, the struggle dealt with companionship during lockdown. And finally skiing, which was kind of like what was just mentioned. Yeah, just opportunity to, what was it? Have an extracurricular life balance, something an alternative to school. Yeah. Okay.
No, I think that is such a great call out. So Faye, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna ask you a question. When those wants were called out of, say, the boyfriend and the dog, did those come from different people?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, but then you realize those are both same solutions to the same struggle, right?
Yeah, that was amazing. That, like, when we were brainstorming, it was like, well, it's actually the same thing, the same overall struggle.
And the great thing is there's probably other solutions to that too, right? I mean, like, we had, kind of to your point, like I mean, it's definitely not equivalent to having a significant other or a pet, but like, I did Thanksgiving with my family over Zoom this. So even if there's a somewhat technology solution to getting some companionship in an isolated environment. But so, yeah, there are all of these different things that we can see that, and kind of to that point, right? If we can figure out how to solve the companionship issue or the isolation issue, then that's more broadly applicable than providing a dating website or a pet finder website or products that fulfill that, right? If you can find something that would meet a broad need of finding companionship in isolation, then that's actually going to serve a much broader user base than you would get otherwise. All right. So let me show you what a opportunity solution tree is. And it's really just a tool to kind of help you map out these things, right? And you can kind of see an example of this on the left, right? So at the top of this, you put some kind of desired outcome, what you want to happen. And then under those, you map an opportunity, right? So essentially, you can think of this as like the desired outcome as being like the true struggle at the high level. And then you might say, okay, well, there's a couple different ways we can approach that. And then you can break that down into a couple probable different subways you might approach that. And then each opportunity might have multiple different solutions. And I'll give you a resource about this at the end that you can really read up on this. But I found this is a fantastic way to map out all of the different problems that you're trying to solve and the solutions that you're going to kind of test to get there. Okay, so what do I want right now? I was kind of joking about this earlier. I want a bigger house, right? And this isn't because like an egotistical thing, but this is because I've had to live in the same house and basically be there 24/7 for like the last 11 months. And it's getting a little cramped, you guys. I have 4 kids, my wife and my dog. And my house is too small. It is way too small for that many people to be there all the time. And so I'm coming out and I'm saying, what I really want, I need a bigger house. Don't get me wrong, I love my family, but 24/7 is a lot, you guys. But if I just said that my need is more space, right? Then that would solve my problem in one way, but it's not truly my problem. My problem is not the space, right? My problem is that I need more personal time, right? Like there are people around me all of the, I really enjoy the days, and again, this is gonna make me sound terrible. I really enjoy the days that I get to come teach at the U of A because I have a 45-minute commute to get here and back. right? Where I can just sit in my car and I can listen to my audiobook and it's nice and quiet and it's good, right? Like I really need that time. And so my struggle is that I don't have enough personal time. I need that. And so what are some other things that would help me do that, right? I can go on daily walk runs. I can take up I originally wrote medication here on accident. And I'm like, I guess that's also a solution, but not the one I was going for. I can take up meditation, right? To try to help me kind of understand that. There are other ways to help give me more personal time or, help me appreciate the time that I'm having more, which would be more on the meditation side. And so these are 3 different opportunities to solve that problem, right? These are possible solutions. Now you could actually probably go a way down from these, right? Under a bigger house, you could say, okay, well, maybe one solution is a bigger house with like more bedrooms, or I need just, more family space, or more, like a kid's playroom. There's different kinds of solutions to what a bigger house means. And that's the way you could actually break this down into further kind of sub-solutions, right? Okay, now we're going to focus on the bigger house, but what kind of bigger house, right? Maybe there's different types of solutions here. So you can kind of view that as like another kind of breakout level, right? And that gets you to, right, this kind of way of solving a problem. So let me give you kind of an application at Walmart, right? So this is a real problem that we ran into recently. Maybe you heard about it. We started running out of inventory in a lot of places, right? Like we couldn't, specifically in the fulfillment centers. So this is like an online problem. People were ordering online and our fulfillment centers weren't getting supplied by suppliers in time. So things weren't in stock online, but they were items that we also sold in the store. And so one of the things that we did radically over the last couple of months is if someone ordered something from online that we also sold in the store, it could be fulfilled through something we at Walmart called ship from store, meaning we literally send someone out to the sales floor, they grab it off the shelf, they put it in a box and they mail it to your house, right? So it's not coming from a centralized fulfillment center, it's coming from a local store, right? There's a lot of good things about that, right? Partly it decreases shipping time because it's probably shipping from a store very close to you, right? So instead of, I don't know where the closest fulfillment center is to Bentonville or the Fayetteville area, but it's probably like Atlanta, right? So you're still getting a couple days transit time on anything that ships out of those fulfillment centers. And then you've got, also it's cheaper, right? For me to ship something across town or like, a couple counties away is a lot less expensive than me shipping something across country, right? So from Walmart's perspective, this is decreasing both shipping time and cost. From the customer's perspective, it's getting them their items sooner and at a lower shipping cost, right? And so a way to do that is to ship from a nearby store, right? That is a solution, and it's the solution that we implemented right away, right? What we found out, one, is that people loved it, right? Oh my gosh, my items are coming faster. The things are getting here, things were actually getting to them, right? Orders weren't being canceled, things were then not out of stock, right? And so this was a solution and it was working, right? So I don't want to pretend, right, in this case that Walmart spent a lot of time thinking about this and came up with the best solution. No, we needed a fast solution and we implemented this, right? But then we found out in the process that people really responded well to getting their items a lot faster than what they were expecting, right? So then we took a step back and said, are there other ways that we can meet that same need to get their order faster, right? And so if you've watched the Walmart news in the last little bit, there have been news articles about us getting drones and actually flying drones from a store and like dropping it off at people's houses. That's a real thing, right? We're doing express delivery where you can literally order something and get it to your house in like 2 hours. Same thing for pickup, right? You can order something online, you can go pick it up at the store even within 2 hours. I think if you're picking up the store, you can get it within like 30 minutes, right? In fact, we did this the other day, just kind of random. I mentioned like we get really sick of our house, so we decided to take our kids to Sonic, right? Like that's the big whoop, right? Again, we have 4 kids, so we can't like go crazy. So we're going to Sonic, and we realized while we were at Sonic that we needed some things from Walmart. We've got all the kids in the car, we don't need anything. We did the express delivery, and from the time from when we were parked at Sonic, which is in Bentonville, right next to the Walmart store, we parked at Sonic, ordered something on the app, hit order, ordered our food, ate it in the car, drove over to Walmart, and they brought it out to us in a shopping cart. And it was 40 minutes later. It was amazing. But in that case, we knew it was happening, right? We specifically ordered it to occur. This other example that happened to my wife the other day freaked us out. We ordered something online, right? I think my wife needed some new makeup. And so she went on Walmart.com, ordered it for makeup, ordered some makeup, and it said it'll be to you in like 2 to 3 days. 18 minutes later, someone knocked on our door with makeup. It was the most bizarre, magical experience of my life. And I've had 4 kids, right? Like it was the craziest thing because I just placed an order online and it showed up on my doorstep 18 minutes later. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. I still don't really know how that's possible. And I've kind of asked people, but it happened and it was insane. So what we can do is take these ideas and say, we have these then 4 different solutions to get to this amazing customer experience of a decreased shipping time and cost, right? And by the way, all 4 of these are taking the approach of treating a local store as a fulfillment center, right? Like we've got these 4,500 stores across the United States that have inventory in them. And so why don't we leverage that chain, that supply chain, and use them as fulfillment centers for local orders? Because it decreased time, it decreased cost. Now, which one of these is the right solution? I have no idea, right? And to be honest, I don't care. This is going back to what we were mentioning a minute ago, which is as a product manager, as someone who's thinking through these things, I care about solving the problem, not the solution that actually solves it, right? I will take any solution that solves it the best. And so what Walmart has done is not implemented one of these, but they've implemented all of them, right? And they're running all of them, especially things like the drone, as an experiment, right? Like we're going to try this in a couple stores. The express delivery is something they're trying in a couple stores. We're going to see how it works. And if it works, great, it's a solution. If it doesn't work, I'm not tied to it because again, I don't care about what the solution is. I care about solving the problem, right? And so what you do in this situation is line out of a bunch of different solutions and then test all of them, right? Because if you focus your mind on solving the problem and not on a particular solution, then you are okay with a solution failing, right? As long as you've got other solutions in mind. If you focus on one solution and it fails, you're out of luck, right? Okay, so we're gonna do one more breakout. I'm gonna give you about probably on the 8-minute side here, right? Because I got a couple more things I wanna say at the end of this. And so in this case, I want you to instead of talking about a need or want in your life, I want you to think about either an enhancement to one of your favorite websites, an app that you use, a product that you use, whatever it is. Think about a new feature that you want. Then think about the opportunity. What struggle is that actually helping you fulfill? And then think about other things that that product or website could do that would meet that same struggle. All right, so I'm going to send all of you to breakout rooms again. So let me recreate these. That seems about right again. So you're going to probably be with different people than you were last time. And I'm going to send you out. All right, guys, see you in a second. All right, people should be coming back in. So let's take a second and let's share out again. Anybody willing to talk about what what kind of product or app they wanted to see a new enhancement to, and what it was, and kind of what the struggle was, what the step back that was solving.
My group had a.
Nope. Go ahead, Lord.
Well, I worked with Faye, and so we went and figured we'd take her problem from before and try and figure it out. And so we were thinking taking Tinder and not just the one-on-one dating aspect and making it more of a social event. So suggested events where multiple Tinder users have indicated they're going to go to would create companionship, both like, what was it? Like if you wanted to date, but also just make friends and have just a social evening.
Yeah, she created Tinder Platonic.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Right. So I don't know. Would people still swipe? Is it? I don't even know if it's swipe left or swipe right. I don't remember which one's the good one or bad one. Be like, it's like, I don't even want to hang out with that guy. Like, just see you guys later. That'd be sad. Okay. Anyone else want to share?
I had something. This was a project actually 2 years ago that me and a group came up with, and it's like a gift generating idea on Amazon.
Okay.
If you're not good at picking out gifts, I personally suck at it, but you can, be like, it is a boy, he's 18 years old, and it comes up with lists of ideas that 18-year-old boys like to have or do, I just think that'd be really cool.
No, that's okay. So I'm gonna stick on that one for a second. So that's your enhancement. What's the actual struggle there, right? What's that solving for you? And I think you said it, but I want to see if you caught it.
It's solving my lack of gift giving skills. Yeah,
right. Like the problem is, like, I'm a terrible gift giver, right? I'm not saying you're a terrible gift giver, but I'm just saying, like, that's a struggle, right? I don't feel like especially if it's a group that you don't know very well, right? Like, I struggle with this when I'm giving gifts to my mom. Like, not that it's like, what do you give a 50-year-old lady that I think has everything, right? Because she's accumulated a lot, right? And so, like, I don't know what she needs. I would love an experience that helped me out with that, but there's probably other kind of situations too. A good example of that, to kind of to your point, Walmart tried something to solve that same problem in a test called Jet Black. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it was literally a texting service that they set up in New York City that said, I need a gift for a 4-year-old boy between $25 and $50. And you just texted that, and they texted back and said, here's what you should buy, click here to buy it. And that was it. Like, it was just like one suggestion and you could go like, boom. So absolutely, I think that's a need. I think that's a great idea. And it's such a good idea. Walmart was testing it out. So good thinking there. Anybody else want to share another one? Well, I think we have time for like one more.
Yeah, we had one.
Yeah.
We came up with like an app or service that would consolidate like all of like the meal delivery apps into one. So like Postmates or Grubhub and all that stuff. And so you would get like the most available driver or something like that. But we also talked about like all the ride sharing apps like Uber and Lyft. It would consolidate all of that stuff so you could get the closest driver to you, so you weren't waiting as long and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what's the problem that's solving?
So it's like, you're waiting a long time because the one Uber driver, because you're using the Uber app, is all the way across town. Even if there's a Lyft driver 2 blocks away, but you chose not to use Lyft that time or something like that.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it. To me, when I hear what you're saying, the problem is I have 7 different apps on my phone that do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I have to, if I want to optimize my experience, I have to go through all of them. Right. It's the same problem we see in retail, right? Like, you can buy, I'm going to be general here. You can buy the same thing at Walmart, at Amazon, at Target, at somewhere else I'm missing, right? But like, if I want to get the best price or the fastest shipping, I have to go check all of those things, right? Yeah. And it's just that, to me, like, I think you're right. I think that's a solution, right? Figuring out, but the broader problem is I've got a bunch of mini solutions to a single problem, and I want to aggregate them some way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great call out. Okay, so we're running down in time, so I'll go ahead and say I'm gonna finish out on a couple slides here, and then we'll be close to 5:30. I'm okay hanging on a couple extra minutes. If you guys have questions about the presentation, about Walmart, about product in general, feel free to stick around. So like, I'm not in a hurry. So if you have like that burning question, don't feel like it's not going to get answered. So I want to talk a minute about a framework called Jobs to Be Done. This is something I could talk about for 2 hours, so we're not going to fill it in the next like 5 minutes. But I did want to kind of introduce it to you, and then you can dive deeper into it if you want to. Two different quotes. This first one I have as as part of my signature on my emails. It says, "People don't want a 1/4-inch drill bit; they want a 1/4-inch hole." Right? If you are a drill bit maker, right, you see what people want, and you go, "Oh man, this guy's asked me. My solution is to give them a 1/4-inch drill bit." But they don't actually need the drill bit. The drill bit is not the thing that they want. They want the hole, and they are buying the drill bit to give themselves the hole in their countertop or the piece of wood or whatever they're drilling, right? Someone challenged me on this one time. This is what I mentioned earlier. It's like, well, can you go a step back? What's the hole for? Are they drilling a hole in their like counter so they can run wires? Well, is the true solution here actually building something that's wireless? You don't even need a hole to begin with. Those are the kind of step back kind of questions that you can start asking when you're presented with a solution, right? And say, well, actually, I need a hole. Well, no, actually, I just need this thing to communicate with this thing. And right now I'm using wires to do that. So I need a hole to run the wires through. But if I can come up with a wireless solution, I don't even need the hole. That's the kind of thinking that really gets you to innovative ideas. The second one is by the founder of Revlon. Apparently I'm on a makeup kick today. It says, "In the factory, we make cosmetics, but in the drugstore, we sell hope." And that's a really interesting question because, again, the founder of Revlon looked at his product not as makeup, but as something that was transforming the way that women looked at themselves, right? And so he was selling a product that enabled women to, in his mind, and I'm not saying women need makeup to feel good about themselves, 100% not saying that, but in his mind, he was creating a product that helped women feel better about themselves. Okay, just wanted to call it out. William Powers made a great framework about this in like 1973. And if you look at this thing on the left, this is almost straight out of this paper. It looks very much like the opportunity map that we saw earlier, right? And what I really like about this is it breaks things into multiple layers. At the very bottom is like the very like narrow scoped problem. I need to slice broccoli, right? So if I wanted to solve that problem, I could come up with like a specific broccoli slicer, right? Someone tried to sell me a cheese slicer the other day, right? I eat a lot of cheese, but I don't think I need like a dedicated cheese slicer, but this person had made a product that was dedicated to slicing cheese. But that's a very narrow problem, which means the solution is also going to be very narrow and very like fleeting, right? I don't need to slice cheese that often, so I'm not going to use that product. But what does that let me do? It lets me prepare dinner. So now if I'm solving the problem of, well, okay, how can I help you prepare dinner better, right? Then that's a more broadly defined problem, and I can provide a better solution to the overall problem. But then you can ask another question, again, why? Why am I preparing dinner? Well, maybe I want to spend more time with my family, right? Maybe I want to be more careful about my health. I want to be a more thoughtful person. I don't want to just go takeout, right? What is that preparing dinner actually doing for me? That gets you up to the principle level, the aspirational goal of me as a person, right? And this kind of goes back to the idea of if you can tie into a problem that doesn't just solve a need, but helps people meet and something they aspire to be, then you are solving such a deep felt need, a deep felt struggle within someone's lives. It becomes a revolutionary solution, right? So it's a pretty cool kind of way of looking at it. And so this is going to be kind of my last slide. How things are today, right, is your actual. How I want things to be in the future is the ideal, right? And the thing in the middle, that progress, is the thing that you are going to hire to bring me from today to the ideal. And if you can figure out the thing that does that the best, then you have solved a great problem. All right, so kind of a solution to this with grocery delivery, kind of at Walmart, right? Like how things are today. I have to shop at odd hours. I have to bring my kids along, right? It takes a long time, right? There's a lot of different ways to then bring me to more time with family, less stress, quality food, right? A lot of different solutions that I can hire to do the job of helping me transform my life, right? From the thing on the left to the thing on the right, right? And so this idea of a job to be done is essentially what helps us make that transition, right? I've got a couple of resources. I'll talk about these in a minute, but Stacy, I know before we kind of close out, I think you had some quick things you wanted to say. So.
Yeah, just a reminder, this is a great intro into the rest of the series, right? We're priming for the next 3 topics. So be sure and sign up for those. Also, if you could take the survey link that I just put in the chat box there, you'll also get an email following this about it. That just helps us get feedback on this presentation. And I'm going to give you time with Taylor because I think it's really important. Stay on and ask your questions. He's highlighted so many great things about that the need changes. We have to find the real struggle, and a narrow problem will give you narrow solutions. So I think just remember those seeds and take them with you wherever you're going, but stay on if you can, if you have questions. Taylor is here.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop sharing so I can actually see everyone at once.